Hey, Stephen Yonti here in West Brookfield, Massachusetts with some more model car stuff. And this is, we showed this a little while ago. It's a 1971 Ford Boss 351, which I'm turning into an altered wheelbase match racer. And you can see I've already altered the wheelbase, cut the wheel houses, and moved the wheel openings forward a little bit so we can replicate a funny car that I always liked when I was a kid. Now, this is Sam Oxier's car. It's a 71 Pro Stock, red, white, and blue. We showed this car, but these pictures here will be used to make the decals. Now, here's the thing. You know, I can spray paint, I can do that kind of stuff, I can mask this thing, but as far as putting the graphics on this car, there's no way I would even try to do that freehand. So what I do is I reach out to people like the folks at STS Graphics, Terry and Patrice Borchers, and they do a great job. About $100 will get you 2 sets of decals made for a model just like this. Now the detail with this thing is little things make the big thing a better thing, and the actual car that Sam Oxier, or Oxier, you choose it, drove was actually 427 camera powered. And while there's some amazing camera motors on the market, this is something I picked up on eBay. This is a 3D printed 427 camera. You can actually see the 427 logo there on the rocker cover, and also the Hillborn injectors right here. Beautiful. Look at how that's 3D printed right there. This is one piece, all come out of, you know, nylon wire, and somehow the Martians landed and left this technology behind, because it's amazing. It's way better than any kind of a resin casting or you know, die cast or a piece out of a metal mold could ever be. So I'm not going to put a camera in this. Instead, I'm going to use a Boss 429 because I've always liked the Boss 9. I've built plenty of model cars with the camera. So now it's time to pay some love to the Boss 9. Now the Boss 9 came out in 1969, but there's some prototypes. This here is Connie Coletta's dragster. You can see the valve covers that say F-O-R-D, and those letters are actually cast into the aluminum valve covers. And Mickey Thompson and Butch Leal had a match race Mustang. You see here another prototype Boss 429 right there with the Boss logo in the Ford, I should say, the F-O-R-D in the valve cover. So what do you do when you want to make a model like that? So you have one option, and I've done a lot of research. I'm kind of a JoHan junkie, and I know my models pretty well. So JoHan made some really cool models. This is the Maverick funny car kit. Now there's a Pro Stock model of this as well as also Comet, and here it is, the t-shirt right here. This is Tinker's Toy. This was Boss 429 powered. This is a flip top tube frame funny car right here on the side of the box. We can see it. But one thing about this one JoHan Boss 429, unlike the ones found in like the NASCAR kit or any other Boss 9 from JoHan, these have a very unique valve cover. And actually these are, they say F-O-R-D on them, and here they are. I bought this kit right here on eBay for $309. That's what I do with my eBay money, my YouTube money. I gotta say, I put it right back into the product. And you can see the valve cover right there's F-O-R-D. Now these were chrome plated in the kit, so what you do is you hit these with some oven cleaner, use an old toothbrush. Don't use the toothbrush afterwards because it kind of tastes bad. How do I know? I don't. But anyway, the F-O-R-D is visible, and you hit this with some matte aluminum, and suddenly you have a Boss 429 with the prototype Ford valve covers on it. And of course, this is the standard Ford Boss 9 valve cover without the F-O-R-D, the fins and stuff, which is what you'd find on a regular Boss 429 Mustang. And the JoHan Boss 9 is a really good little engine. So with that said, I'll be using a Boss 9 in this model right here. And speaking of 3D printed parts, you can get stuff, you name it. This is a 426 Hemi, really well done. It's 3D printed, and the harmonic damper right there is not a freestanding piece. It's actually integrally molded, the 3D printer, and there's a gap between that. It looks like it's actually an added-on piece, but this is amazing. The pistons, you can see those in the cylinder bores right there. It's a Hemi piston, and even the cylinder heads have details, the combustion chambers inside. That's a Hemi chamber right inside of there. So 3D printing has arrived in a big way. Now the only downside of 3D printing is in some cases a larger structure like a body shell or an airplane fuselage. Sometimes you get something called terracing, wherein the 3D printer, as it makes its layers up on the program, you get lines, you have to sand it. So that's a hurdle I haven't crossed yet, but the small parts like this, these things come out beautifully right out of the tool. And so that's really coming along beautifully. And speaking of graphics, again, STS decals makes things like this possible. Before this was done, one of the last models I made recently was this. This is the Hemi Hauler, the Hemi Hunter. This is the AMT 64442 model, which I turned into an altered wheelbase funny car. That's all I do is altered wheelbase funny cars with a chassis and kind of, you know, did it up, altered wheelbase activity. And this is an AMT kit. And the thing of it is, to find these decals, you know, I could have had the Borchers make them, but instead I raided my decal box and kind of made decals from several kits kind of work together to create a theme of an Oldsmobile engineering car with a supercharged 455 under the hood, you know, a 671 blower, and once again, JoHan injection hat right there, beautiful piece, really well rendered. And again, I cut the hood so that the blower comes right through it here like that. And I kind of paid tribute to the monogram Hurst Harry Olds with the gold and black graphics on this thing. But again, this is a funny car that never existed. But I usually make models of Mopars or Fords, but I figured I'd give GM a little bit of love with that 442, the Hemi Hunter 442. So with that said, I'll be continuing with this model here. And again, I can spray paint the body and mask it and get that stuff done. I'm pretty good with that sort of thing. But with that said, the graphics on this, they have to be done right or they're wrong. So for that said, I'll go to STS Graphics and have those guys do a decal set for this. And as I go along, I'll bring you up to date on this as it moves forward. Thanks for watching.